I'm John, and tonight I want answers about GameStop and seating members of Congress.
I'm John Thompson.
I'm John A. Vink.
I'm Keith Stattenfield.
I'm Loretta Beavers.
I'm AJ Minnick.
I'm Jennifer Sim.
I'm Jim Tu.
I'm Bobby Chastain. These stories tonight on John Wants Answers.
John wants answers. John wants answers. Give John answers. John wants answers. Give John answers now.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's February 11th, 2021. And my guest tonight, Keith Stattenfield. Hi, Keith.
Hi, John. Are you all ready for Valentine's Day?
I suppose.
That means no. That means no.
I've done nothing. Should I be doing something?
Do you have a girlfriend?
Yes.
Do you want to have a girlfriend on February 15th?
Sure.
You should do something.
Okay. What are you doing?
I'm married. Okay, I'm doing something. I got some presents. I bought a meteor necklace.
It's a necklace made of meteors?
Yeah, it's like 4.5 million years old.
Wow. You must have that big Apple options money.
Yeah, although they're affordable.
Oh, yeah?
Turns out you can slice a million-year-old meteor into very tiny pieces. And so
many pieces.
Economically.
It's like a diamond. Well, it's made of carbon?
I think it's made of iron.
Iron? Oh.
Because it's a meteor.
Is that what?
There's a lot of iron in meteors.
Space is made of iron? Space chunks?
Well, I think the stuff that's not iron tends to burn up in the atmosphere before it hits the ground. So the parts that we have left around are heavier, metally things.
Sounds like a great smelting process. All right, well, we're going to get started with part 4 of our 4-part series, Who is President?
Yeah.
Now, most years, this is a 1-part series.
Yeah, a very short 1-part series.
We, show up in November every 4 years, and we say, this person won the election.
Who did ABC say is president a day after the election? That's the guy that's going to be president. It's always been a guy up till now. Someday it'll be different.
So Joseph Biden was sworn in by the Chief Justice. So he is currently president, but not for long, because I understand Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene filed articles of impeachment the day after his inauguration.
That's true, although you can only have one impeachment at a time.
So his days are numbered. Now, the current impeachment of Donald Trump, that's going to be like in the 3 days?
It might be over tomorrow.
Might be over tomorrow. Do they vote tomorrow or the next day?
No one knows.
No one knows.
I mean, soon. They'll vote soon.
Can only a member of the House of Representatives file articles of impeachment?
Yes. I mean, other people can file them, but they won't matter.
And so when do we expect the House of Representatives to vote to pass these articles?
I do not expect the House of Representatives to even vote to not pass them.
Okay.
I expect the articles of impeachment, which were drafted, as I understand, before he was sworn in as president, they will go nowhere.
So it's the Speaker of the House who sets the agenda, correct?
Generally, yes. Chairs of committees have some power to forward things to the floor of the House. And
so it's unlikely Miss Pelosi will schedule this for a vote.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So that's the end of our series, Who is President?
Well, like he would have been president he got to be president.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's presently president.
Unless the crazy QAnon stuff about how the United States was dissolved in October.
Yes.
And so
March 4th, the real inauguration is going to happen.
Yeah.
This might be then part 5 of a 5-part series, who is president. Okay, our next topic. It is February, and as always, February is Black History Month.
Yes.
And you and I celebrate Black History Month every year by having an awkward conversation about race.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
I'm not going to say I look forward to it, but I do anticipate it.
So here we are, two white guys. So I had a question. I had a Zoom conference with a bunch of friends, and it was Martin Luther King Day.
Sure.
And so I asked the people in the room, I said, is it okay if I wish my Black friends a happy Martin Luther King Day? And they very quickly and emphatically said no. Why do you think I cannot
Yes,
wish?
that is correct. That is a good summary of what.
Why do you think it is improper for me to wish my Black friends a happy Martin Luther King Day?
I think because Martin Luther King isn't a holiday for your Black friends.
Isn't it a holiday
It's
for
a
everybody?
holiday for everybody. So if you had said, I have spent the entire day wishing everyone a happy Martin Luther King Day, we would have said, good Lord, John has grown some empathy or something. But when you are only wishing your Black friends a happy Martin Luther King Day, then you are misunderstanding Martin Luther King Day, and you are making them uncomfortable because they know you misunderstood it because they know you.
I have frequently wished my Jewish friends a happy Hanukkah.
Yes.
And I have not received information that is bad or wrong of me. In fact, every newscast, you know,
So the
says to our
distinction
Jewish friends, happy Hanukkah.
The distinction is, in some vague sense, Hanukkah is a holiday that is for your Jewish friends. It is their holiday. It is part of their religion in a way that perhaps wishing them Merry Christmas would, if you intentionally only wished your Jewish friends Merry Christmas, would be cringeworthy in a different but similar fashion.
I understand. Is there a holiday I should be wishing happiness on my Black friends? Like there's a holiday called Kwanzaa.
Juneteenth, possibly.
Juneteenth. Okay.
Kwanzaa, if you believe they celebrate Kwanzaa.
Isn't Kwanzaa a Christmas adjacent holiday invented for Black people?
It is Christmas adjacent. I agree with that part. It was the principles of Kwanzaa were created by a group of Black individuals to celebrate the Black community and its accomplishments, and to encourage certain behavior and to encourage certain celebrations. But not all Black people celebrate Kwanzaa.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the numbers, but I suspect a minority of Black people celebrate Kwanzaa in any serious way.
So I should avoid wishing them happy Kwanzaa?
This is why the phrase happy holidays was invented, in fact, because there are just a lot of holidays that pile up near the end of the year, and no one quite knows which ones are appropriate for who, and who may or may not be offended if you get it wrong. So we wish everyone a happy holiday season.
But I thought that was ammunition in the war on Christmas.
There is no war on Christmas.
Oh, okay.
And words are not ammunition.
how do I empathize with my Black friends that racism is real and I feel terrible about it?
Well, this is a short show, so I don't know that I'm going to be able to fix you in the next, let's call it 21 minutes. I mean, you would start with some serious thinking and reflection and research to realize that racism, in fact, is still a systemic problem in our society that has disproportionate impacts on large groups of people who are treated worse in a large variety of ways. And then you would demonstrate your commitment to changing this going forward by behaving better yourself, by supporting policies and programs and things that tried to help ease the past injustices that have happened. You would need to learn to empathize.
I've been working on that.
Yeah,
I'm seeking professional help.
It is a very hard problem that we are not going to fix before the next show. Possibly we are not going to fix it ever, but we should all try to make things better as we can and be serious about those attempts.
That's a great answer. I can't imagine getting any hate mail about that.
Let's
Okay.
hope not.
Our next topic is GameStop.
GameStop, the store.
Did you make $1 million trading GameStop stock?
I did not.
Probably
I have
smart.
traded 0 shares of GameStop in my life directly.
The story is that some financial analysts look at GameStop and determined that the stock was overvalued and they shorted the stock. And so shorting a stock is very risky. It's when you sell a stock that you don't have with the idea that you'll buy it back later when it's cheaper. So normally if you buy a stock and it goes to 0, you just lose the money.
The mechanism for shorting a stock is generally that when you short a stock, what you're saying is, I believe in the future this stock is going to be worth less than it is now.
Yeah.
And I would like to find a way to make money on that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no direct way to make money if something's going to be worth less in the future. Something's going to be worth more in the future. You buy the stock now, and in the future you sell it. If you are sure a stock is going to go down by $1 a month from now, and you want to make $1 million, well, you can't buy it and sell it later. So you reverse the order of operations. You sell the stock now, and you get a bunch of money for selling the stock. And then in the future, you can buy the stock with the money you have. Still doesn't get you any money. So when you short a stock, you find someone that currently owns the stock and you borrow their stock for a month. Like imagine you own 1 million shares of GameStop,
right?
A small portion of your large holdings. I come to you and say, hey, John, I got a great idea. I'm going to make $1 million. Lend me your 1 million shares of GameStop. You lend it to me, and I walk out the front door and I sell your 1 million shares of GameStop right away. Now a month goes by, and you're like, hey, Keith, where was that GameStop stock you borrowed from me? And I'm like, I don't want to tell you I sold it. So I go out and I buy GameStop stock, buy 1 million shares of it to give back to you.
Is this the case where, let's say, I'm taking care of your dog while you're on vacation and I lose the dog, and so I buy you a new dog and hope you won't notice the difference?
Yes, it's very similar to that, but everyone would notice if a dog was different. Like goldfish, maybe it could be goldfish. You know, I sell your fish and I buy new fish, and you're none the wiser. So on the stock market, no one's going to just lend you their stock for a month. So I, as the guy doing the short sale, I give you a little bit of money to borrow your stock for a while. And then I promise to give you shares of stock back in the future. And if the stock truly falls in value, as I'm sure it's going to, then I can buy those shares to give back to you in the future for less money than I sold them for. And so I get to keep that difference as profit.
Right.
And I have to give part of that difference to you up front as the cost of renting the stock. And you said it's risky. And the reason it's risky is if I'm wrong and the stock goes up, then it costs me more money a month from now to buy it than I got when I sold it. And so that's money out of my own pocket.
But the key here is that when you buy low and sell high, let's say you buy
Sure.
and it goes to zero. The most you can lose is the money you'd already put into the stock.
For conventional stock that you're holding, you can't lose more money than you put into it.
Right. But when you short a stock, the potential losses are unlimited. Like in this case of GameStop, the stock was at $5.
Yes.
Actually, no, it's at $2.50. And then it went up to $483.
Yes.
So if you had shorted at $2.50, you would have lost $481 per share. Which, on one stock, you could survive. But imagine they're doing this with thousands of stocks.
Thousands or millions of shares. Yes.
So then you can see how the losses could become, technically unlimited. Depends on how high the stock goes.
I mean, in the real world, in practice, most stocks that are worth $2.50 do not go to $400.
Right.
In the span of 30 days.
So in this case, it did, because some people basically did a pump and dump. Now, they're upset that people were shorting the stock. Is shorting a stock considered evil?
I mean, the people that think about how economics works as a theory say short sellers exist to keep other people honest, which is if there were no short sellers, then the people that talk up the price of a stock would cause stock prices to rise above what their actual value should be. Because there's no one who is pointing out the problems. I think this in a economic theory is true, but I also think a lot of the people that short sell stocks don't just short sell stocks. They are actively trying to drive the value of the stock down. And many of the mechanisms they use to do that are kind of sleazy, but they're rich. So we don't call them sleazy. We call them Wall Street geniuses.
Now, what would have been genius is if GameStop decided to issue new shares at, let's say, $450. Because right now, GameStop does not benefit at all from all these shenanigans.
Pretty much not, very little.
Yeah. But if they issued new stock, they could trade pieces of paper, which cost them like nothing to print. Sell those for like $450 a piece. Then they have some real money and can buy a real company or something.
GameStop has to tell their shareholders that they're going to issue new shares. Mm-hmm. And all of those people that are holding shares at $400 a share, if they know GameStop is going to issue new stock tomorrow at $400 a share, would be willing to sell their stock for $390 a share the day before, and the short sellers that need to buy stock would be willing to buy it for $390 a share instead of $400 a share because they'd lose $10 less a share.
Yeah.
And that just cascades so that effectively, if GameStop announced we're going to issue new shares at anything much above $250 a share, would collapse the market instantly. And then GameStop would have more shares outstanding, which they would have to sell at $250 a share. Also, GameStop doesn't say we're selling shares at $450 a share. They say we're issuing new shares which will trade on the market at the market price.
Right.
And they don't
right.
really control that.
Yeah. So they timed it right. They could have timed it at the 483 price.
Well, but they couldn't have because people are smart and the whole thing would have collapsed before then.
Well, it is collapsing. I think last I looked, it was $51 a share.
Yeah, it'll be
It's
back
way
to
more
like
like
$5 a share because GameStop as a company is worth about $5 a share.
Yeah.
They sell video games in malls and no one goes to malls, and all video games for consoles you download electronically now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't even know how they still exist today. But
Well, a lot of Funko Pop, you're not hip enough to buy Funko Pop dolls.
oh,
So you have no reason to go to GameStop.
exactly. My next topic is seating members of Congress. So we have a new representative in the House of Representatives, Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Yes.
and she has supported calls for the assassination of the Speaker of the House.
Sure. Yeah. As
So,
you do.
could Congress have decided not to seat her on January 3rd?
I think they could have, but I don't think, I think in the end they were very unlikely to do that. And I'm not sure if the Supreme Court would have upheld that. They likely wouldn't have, but no one's going to know until someone goes to ask the Supreme Court again.
I looked at the Constitution,
Sure.
and under Article 1, Section 5, it says that the House shall be the judge of the elections, returns, and qualifications of its own members, and a majority shall constitute a quorum to do business. So that means, I looked historically, they have decided not to seat Congresspeople, mostly Mormons.
Back in the day.
But as you said, the U.S. Supreme Court did get involved in 1969 when some guy, Mr. Powell, he won the election, but they didn't seat him because I forget why. He was too corrupt. And the Supreme Court said, well, you can only not seat them if they actually are not qualified. I mean, don't meet the requirements.
Requirements in the Constitution is what the Supreme Court said.
Yeah.
There's some fuzz around the edges, since if you could plausibly demonstrate that someone didn't actually get a majority of the votes in the election,
Mm-hmm.
that they might, they might accept that kind of thing.
Right.
If, I mean, they have to be a citizen. So if you could demonstrate they weren't a citizen, then you could clearly not seat them. But the Supreme Court found that in '69 to be okay. I mean, they could seat them and then they could expel them with a 2/3 majority.
Ah, is that like an impeachment?
I'm not sure it's called an impeachment, but I believe the House can expel members.
Okay. So they did seat her.
Yeah.
And they did not expel her.
Not yet.
But they voted to strip her of all her committee assignments.
Yes.
So how does member get committee assignments in the first place?
Well, generally, since we have parties in this country, after the election, the first day of Congress, they kind of look at what the composition of Congress is, and they say, if half the people are Republicans and half are Democrats, then we'll say half people in every committee should be Republicans and half should be Democrats. And then they let the Democratic members of the House kind of divvy up all the committee appointments among the Democrats, and the Republican side divvies them up among the Republicans. There are some rules for independents where they kind of try and let them do some things, but it's a little ad hoc.
And so I knew.
And then they have a big vote where they just officially approve the lists that, you know, each leader has compiled and assembled.
So if you're a new congressperson, they're just going to stick you somewhere.
There is a lot of jockeying for committee assignments. You know, if you represent a farm state, you would much rather be on the agricultural committee than on the banking committee. Oh, it's hard to say. Banking's a good committee. There are some committees no one wants to be on, like the Judiciary or the Ethics Committee.
So what happened then is the Republican members of the House, they had a discussion, but they decided not to take her off the committees. And
they put her on two committees, Education and Judiciary.
Labor.
Had two committee assignments. Maybe it was Labor. I don't remember the second one for certain.
But then, so then all of Congress got together and had a vote, and they voted amongst themselves to throw her off all the committees.
Yes, to remove her from both of her committees.
Okay.
And in the past, and they did that because they said, let's look at the things she has said. She has said some very abhorrent things.
Mm-hmm.
And they have removed people from committees in the past for saying abhorrent things or doing abhorrent things. Generally, by the time the pressure gets that high, the leader of that party in Congress just kind of says, yeah, we're okay with removing her from these committees. And then there's this, you know, then Congress as a whole votes, but it's a, you know, it's a peremptory vote, right? Everyone knows the results are already going to happen.
Mm.
It's pretty much, you know, 400 whatever to 7. In this case, it was a close vote because Congress is closely divided.
Right.
Democrats and Republicans.
Although 11 Republicans did go along with it.
11 Republicans did go along with, I think, all the Democrats to strip her of her committee assignments.
So now Republicans are just going to find 2 other people to take her place in those committees?
I assume so. They probably already have.
Oh.
I mean, the Education Committee is so unimportant that few people know who's on it. We only know who's not on it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the show we have this month.
That is the show we have this month.
So I hope you like it, 'cause that's one we have.
Yeah.
All right. Good show, Keith.
Yeah. Are we doing